There is a photograph from São Gonçalo, a working-class city across the bay from Rio de Janeiro, that tells you most of what you know. Coach standing on the sideline with a clipboard. São Gonçalo is not the kind of place that produces superstars, it is the kind of place that people with options leave. Vinícius left because he had options, a talent that was obvious to anyone who watched him play. Even at that age, Flamengo found him, and at 16 years old he scored a brace in a South American Under-17 championship against Colombia. A first goal that was described even then as a piece of art. A lob from outside the box, no hesitation. That was 2017, 9 years ago. He was a kid from a hard city on the wrong side of a bay, and he was already doing things with a football that made you stop and re-watch them. Today he is 25 years old, one of the highest paid footballers on the planet, a two-time Champions League winner, a man who has spent years absorbing some of the ugliest racial abuse in European sport, and fighting back, publicly and loudly, when almost everyone around him suggested he should let it go. And today he is also going home. Brazil lost to Norway 2-1 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Haaland scored twice in the final 11 minutes, a header in the 79th, a thunderbolt from the top of the box in the 90th that Alisson Becker could only wave at. Endrick, played clean through by Vinícius in the first half, produced a first touch so heavy it needed its own boarding pass and poked the sitter wide. Norway's goalkeeper Ørjan Nyland was magnificent. Neymar, back from injury and playing what may genuinely be his last international appearance, converted a late stoppage time penalty that was entirely meaningless. Brazil is out before the quarterfinals for the first time since 1990. The five-time champions, the country where football is not a sport, but a national language. Home before the last 8, in a World Cup, they were expected to at a minimum reach the final. This is the context for everything that follows. Not as a way of diminishing what Vinícius built this tournament. 5 goals in the group stage, the only Brazilian who consistently showed up and delivered, a player who gave everything he had in this jersey for years. But because the human story is more interesting than any business metric, and the human story tonight is one of a 25-year-old from São Gonçalo who gave this everything, whose tournament is over, and who will carry it home. Welcome back to the Celebs Mindset. Let's talk about the real Vinícius Júnior. Let's start with the racism, because it doesn't get talked about on most channels, and it is, without question, the most important off-pitch story in his career. Since arriving in Spain in 2018, Vinícius has been subjected to sustained, documented, repeated racial abuse, monkey chants from opposing fans, racial slurs from players on the pitch. In February 2026, during a Champions League playoff match against Benfica, he was targeted again. The referee activated UEFA's anti-racism protocol and stopped the game for 10 minutes. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said he was shocked and saddened. UEFA opened a disciplinary investigation. Vinícius responded the way he has always responded, not by going quiet, by going louder. I will continue using my platform to stand up for victims of discrimination and help create a better future for the next generation, he said. My battle goes beyond personal experiences. My mission is to ensure that young people do not have to endure the same challenges and injustices that many black athletes and individuals continue to face around the world. This is not a press release written by a media team. This is a man who grew up in São Gonçalo, who came to Europe as a teenager with nothing but talent, and who found himself on the receiving end of things that no human being should experience, let alone in a football stadium in front of tens of thousands of people. And instead of accepting the advice he was surely given, smile, don't make it bigger than it is, focus on football, he made it bigger, deliberately, because he understood that his platform was powerful enough to matter, and that using it to stay silent would be its own kind of betrayal. Rock Nation stands with him publicly. Players across the sport, Mbappé, Alexander-Arnold, Seedorf, have spoken in his support. The fight has cost him energy, focus, and emotional bandwidth that most footballers never have to spend. He spent it anyway. Now let's talk about the business picture, because it's real and worth understanding, even if it's far less dramatic than Sovereign Network implies. Vinícius's longest-standing commercial relationship is with Nike, which has supplied his boots and kit since the early stages of his professional career. The deal is a cornerstone of his off-pitch income, and his market value to the brand has grown substantially as his global profile has risen. Beyond Nike, he works with Pepsi, Gatorade, Visa, and Unilever, a portfolio that reflects his status as one of the most marketable young footballers in the world, not just in South America, but globally. His net worth as of 2026 is estimated at around $80 million. His salary from Real Madrid alone sits around $40 million per year, making him one of the club's highest-paid players. Total annual earnings, including endorsements, are estimated at around $60 million by Forbes. What brands are buying when they align with Vinícius is not simply a face and a following. They are buying an athlete whose willingness to stand publicly against racism has given him a moral authority that is genuinely rare in commercial sport. His advocacy isn't a campaign, it's a documented, years-long commitment that precedes most of the big brand deals and continues regardless of them. His personal investments are, by most reports, conservative and private. Real estate in Madrid, no dramatic public ventures into tech or entertainment. He's not building a media company, he's building a life. A footballer from São Gonçalo who made it to Real Madrid and is now, in whatever time he has left, trying to use the platform that came with all of that to leave something worth more than trophies. Now back to today, because the story of this tournament doesn't end neatly. Through the group stage, Vinícius was the reason Brazil looked dangerous at all. 5 goals in 3 matches, only the 5th Brazilian ever to score in each of his first 3 group stage games in a single World Cup, joining Jairzinho from 1970, Romário from 1994, and Ronaldo and Rivaldo from 2002. Brazil won those World Cups, every one of them. Vinícius was playing like a player who understood the weight of that list. He was, in the words of one reporter, clearly thinking about it. Then came Norway, and what happened was not a collapse so much as a revelation, the kind of match that shows you clearly what a team really is underneath the tournament excitement. Brazil had 34% possession. Norway had nearly 70%. Ancelotti's side were passive, slow in midfield, aging in the wrong places, and when it mattered, when Endrick had the goal open in front of him, the finish wasn't there. Haaland's were, 2 of them. Clinical, inevitable, the kind of goals that make you realize you're watching someone who is, right now, simply playing a different game to everyone else in this tournament. Vinícius had 1 shot on goal all match. His XG for the game was .17. In the most important match of his World Cup, on the biggest stage he had ever reached with Brazil, the game barely touched him. That's football, not a business metric, not a streaming algorithm, not an endorsement portfolio decision, just football. The sport that is beautiful and brutal in almost equal measure, that gives you 5 goals in 3 games and then gives you .17 XG when it counts, that gave Brazil a 1970 and a 2002 and has now given them a round of 16 exit for the first time in 36 years. Brazil hasn't won the World Cup since 2002. Vinícius was 2 years old when Ronaldo lifted that trophy. He has spent his entire adult life trying to be the player who ends that wait. Tonight, that chapter of the story closes. The 6th star will have to wait until 2030. What does he do now? He goes home, he trains, he comes back to Real Madrid and probably does something extraordinary in the Champions League that everyone talks about for months. He continues the anti-racism fight because that was never tied to a tournament result. He builds his commercial partnerships carefully and selectively, and he invests in real estate and a private life that most people will never fully see. He grows up a little more in the way that elimination from a tournament you believed you could win always makes you grow up. And 4 years from now, if his body holds and Brazil gets it right, he will be 29, right at the peak, the perfect age to carry that country back to where it belongs. The kid from São Gonçalo isn't done yet, he's just not going to the quarterfinals tonight. Was Vinícius's World Cup 5 group stage goals, the anti-racism fight that ran right through it, and then a round of 16 exit that has the entire country asking difficult questions about where Brazilian football goes next? The story of a superstar who gave everything he had, or the story of a team that let him down? Drop your take in the comments and subscribe to the Celebs Mindset. We tell the real stories about real people with real stakes.